Okay, hello everyone. So what we're gonna do in this video, and I want to do this very brief video, and I don't think I've done this. I've covered this in my YouTube channel, but there is something, there's one more thing in college algebra that, we all need to learn, and that is what is called the difference quotient. Now, this is going to be a very brief video, and I'm not going to spend too much time going over what the difference quotient is, because I feel like that's something that I would have to go over in another video, but and basically the difference quotient is something that they make you do in college algebra and also in pre-calculus for the preparation of calculus. So this is the difference quotient, obviously. And what we want to do is we want to find the difference quotient for, or rather, use the difference quotient to simplify this following function. And this function is a quadratic function, obviously. Okay, so we're just going to dive right in, okay? Now, one of the first steps is to find f of x plus h. Now remember, anything that I put in for, anything that I put into my function, or anything that I put inside this parentheses here, I have to plug in for x, right? Some people use a plus h or any other variable, but mostly I like to use x plus h. You can use any variable, or your professor may use another variable, it doesn't matter. Anyways, what we're gonna do is we're gonna plug this in for every x value, okay? So if I just color code this, we're gonna plug this in for every x value in this function. Now, f of x plus h will be equal to the quantity x plus h squared plus 2 times x plus h minus 1. Okay, so now we use FOIL method to simplify x plus h squared, right? And we go ahead and simplify by distributing our 2 to our x plus h over here, right? So we have 2x plus 2h, and then we have minus 1. Now, we're going to do FOIL method for this section here, okay? So we have x squared plus xh plus xh plus h squared. One thing I want to emphasize very quickly, xh is equal to hx, okay? It doesn't really matter how you write it. They're the same thing. So it doesn't matter if you say 2hx or 2xh. I like to say 2xh only because my variable here is x. So that's how I write it. Anyways, so then we go ahead and grab everything else. So leave everything else the same. So we have plus 2x, and this is h squared. So we have plus 2x plus 2h minus 1. And now we're going to go ahead and simplify this. Notice here we have two like terms. So we're going to say x squared plus 2xh plus h squared plus 2x plus 2h minus 1. Okay. And now we look at this and we say, okay, now we've went ahead and done f of x plus h. And now we have to do, so we already have f of x, right? We already have f of x. F of x is right here. So we don't need to do anything for this part. So now, plug f of x plus h and negative f of x into, or actually, hold on, and f of x into f of x plus h minus f of x all over h, okay? So we're going to go ahead and say x squared plus 2xh plus h squared plus 2x plus 2h minus 1 minus, and we're going to put parentheses because obviously we have a quadratic, okay, minus f of x, so we're going to say x squared plus 2x minus 1, and we're going to put this all over h, okay. Lastly, what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and simplify this, so obviously this part stays the same, okay, so we have x squared plus 2xh plus h squared plus 2x plus 2h minus 1 minus the quantity x squared minus 2x plus 1, okay, all over h, okay. And actually, what we're going to do here is we're going to distribute the negative in over here, okay? So we're going to say minus x squared minus 2x plus 1. So now we take the parentheses off. We say x squared plus 2xh plus h squared plus 2x plus 2h minus 1 minus x squared minus 2x plus 1 all over h, okay? And lastly, we're going to go ahead and find any like terms here. So we have an x squared, a negative x squared, and then we have a 2x and a negative 2x. And then, so any terms that cancel out basically. And then we also have a negative 1 and a positive 1 here. Okay. So, lastly, so these two cancel out, these two cancel out, and these two cancel out. So let's bring everything together. So we have anything that's left here, let's bring it together. So 2xh plus h squared plus 2h all over h. Now, by using your algebra skills, you have to factor out an h. So now you're going to say h times 2x plus h plus 2, right? All over h. So now h cancels out, and you are left with 2x plus h plus 2. And this is your final answer, okay? Let's do one more, okay? Let's do one more. So here we have f of x equals 1 over x. Now, let's go ahead and do the exact same thing. So now we have to find f of x plus h. Now, f of x plus h will be equal to 1 over the quantity x plus h. Okay, and that's f of x plus h, right? So therefore, f of x plus h equals 1 over x plus h. It just means that we plugged in x plus h for x, okay? And number 2, you want to go ahead and you want to go ahead now and plug this into our difference quotient, right? So f of x plus h minus f of x all over h will be equal to, we're going to go ahead and say, so let's go ahead and color code here. And okay, so we're going to go ahead and plug that in for x plus h. So we have 1 over x plus h. And then we have minus f of x. So basically, f of x, we already know what f of x is. F of x is 1 over x. So we're going to go ahead and say minus 1 over x and all over h, right? Now this looks a little bit you know, a little bit crazy, but you always want to make sure that you subtract out the top and then, you know, use your dividing fractions rule. So let's go ahead and do this. So we have, and you can use a over b minus b over, or minus c over d if it helps. However, you can also do it this other way. So 1 over x plus h minus 1 over x. It doesn't really matter as long as you know how to actually subtract that out. So you're going to say 1 over x plus h, and then you're going to go ahead and make it equal to x times x plus h. And then here you're going to say, you're going to go ahead and say is equal to x times x plus h. So this, to get from x to x times x plus h, we multiply times x plus h. And then what you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So you have 1 times x plus h, right? And that gives you x plus h, right? And then similarly for the other one, to get from x plus h to x times x plus h, you're going to multiply an x. What you do to the bottom, you do to the top. 1 times x is just x. So therefore, you're going to get x minus the quantity x plus h over x times x plus h, right? So this will be equal to x minus h, because you're going to distribute your negative, and then over x times x plus h. You want to make sure that you go ahead and leave the bottom factored. Like, do not combine it yet, or do not simplify it, because you just never know if, you know, if something might cancel out. So that's why I would recommend that you leave it unfactored. Okay, so we have negative h over x times x plus h, and that's what we get for the top. We get negative h over x times x plus h, right? Over h. So that means we have negative h over x times x plus h divided by h, right? So we use the dividing fractions rule here. Negative h over x times x plus h times 1 over h. This cancels out, and we are left with negative 1 over x squared plus xh. Or you can just say negative 1 over x times x plus h. Depending on how your professor wants it, these would be two possible answers. Okay, so that is what the difference quotient is. So basically, these are two examples that you would face in college algebra for the difference quotient, and the reason why we learn this is because in calculus, you even learn this in pre-calculus, but in calculus, you look at this again, but in the form of a limit. Okay, now I hope this helps, guys, and basically this is, I believe it's the last part that is basically the last part of college algebra. But I hope this helps, guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.